fight. Take care.
Warrior!
Hey, guy. You look good,
For
man.
many years, I've been watching your videos. For many years, you gave me the ability and power to succeed in life. All the warriors gave me the power.
Queering doesn't make the world work.
These videos are satiric reviews. You don't have to agree, but don't bitch about it.
This thing on? Hey there, I'm Social Injustice Warrior V Infuso, and if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out. You missed me, didn't you? Well, you must have. Otherwise, why do you keep coming back? First off, I really want to apologize to Warrior, because, you've been dead all this time, and only now is somebody coming to bury you. Don't panic, guys. This isn't turning into a wrestling exclusive channel. But we're also not straying away from the subject either. And this in of itself actually isn't even a wrestling exclusive video.
That homosexual?
Oh, Jesus.
Homosexuality? You don't have an orgasm on me, honey.
Or at least not entirely. There's something for everyone here. Because unlike my last videos, this isn't about the wrestler, but the man who betrayed the wrestler. Now, if I may, I just want to take you back briefly to this one video I did not so long ago, that apparently is more relevant now than it was then.
Previously on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
So why is her partner in crime, the fabulous Moolah, not also recognized in that same manner? Well, it's simple. Because Moolah is a piece of shit. Or what the Germans would call a cunt. You see, because Moolah was much more than just a backstabbing bitch or a two-timing, two-faced end of this sentence. By several accounts, Moolah was nothing more than a glorified pimp. There are more than 2 handfuls of stories and accounts of Moolah handing off unsuspecting female trainees to promoters and morality-depraved workers alike. That's not twisted enough for you. Moolah would join in on these acts from time to time. She didn't just hold a few workers back. She held back an entire industry and division in that industry. And outside of her being an unprofessional, self-centered, prunish bitch, she was also a rapist and a pimp. So don't honor Moolah. Fuck Moolah. Fuck her in life and fuck her in death. I mean, she may no longer have fame, but you will forever live in infamy. Because of my Moolah video, I've been getting a lot of messages from a lot of people asking what I think about the Moolah Battle Royal. And quite honestly, frankly, if I could be serious for a moment, I'm not surprised. You see, for all the press that WWE puts out, for all that they do to put themselves in a positive spotlight, they're renowned for doing stupid and, let's face it, somewhat insensitive shit. That's coming from me. That's coming from a guy called the Social Injustice Warrior. It's coming from a guy who freely uses words like pussy, bitch, and cuck as insults. Consistently. All the time. WWE does stupid shit. Don't believe me? You think I'm pulling your dick? Well, let's take one of my favorite shining examples of both irony and hypocrisy in the company. The Ultimate Warrior. And more so over the legacy of the Ultimate Warrior. If you listen to current WWE lore, the universe would tell you that the Ultimate Warrior is the ultimate wrestler. He's one of the most well-known and beloved names in all wrestling history. He had a connection with wrestling fans that was relatively unrivaled. He was more than a man, but a movement, a force that swept up the wrestling world and threw it on his back. He was strong-willed, determined, and just overall a good person. A likable guy. Someone that you'd want to make a monument in tribute to. Someone that you'd just want to put in your Hall of Fame and name an award after. And someone that the WWE did put in their Hall of Fame and name an award after. The Warrior Award. An award usually given to cancer victims and survivors as a sign of their strong-willed warrior ways. So what does it mean to be a warrior? What What does it mean to take the path of the warrior? Well, there's no better place to go than the man himself. Let's take a look at the man, Jim Hellwig. Or as he later changed his name to Warrior. Yeah, I'm not fucking making that up, that's a real thing.
Sort of like how Ultimate Warrior always talked about destiny. I believe it was my destiny to end up building a public speaking career. Nothing subject to moral relativity is left out between these two extremes. That the bum is as legitimate as the businessman, that queers are as legitimate as heterosexuals.
How are they not?
That the anarchist, because queering doesn't make the world work correctly. Let me come down off my politically correct horse. I'm a simple guy, man. I stick with the basics. I don't care if you kiss another man, you can do it right here. And you can get better quality reality TV if you go home. Man, answer the fucking question. I just told you, queering doesn't make the world work. You didn't come for me. Homosexuality is not as legitimate as heterosexuality. You gotta take that object out of your mouth. Reality doesn't work that way. Reality. Does that work for you? Reality?
Then how does history work?
Reality?
What does that have to do with...
It's weird, he seems to have this anti-gay agenda. But then I remember this video.
And I had the chance to spend some time with him. He invited me to come to his place. And they're all there. Vince is there and Pat Patterson. I don't know who else was there. And Vince said they've got ulterior motives. And then he went and got Jerry Briscoe. We went in the shower, and he proceeded to have Jerry Briscoe from the backside. He was a real hard worker, just a grunty style, like he was grunt. So I was interested to get involved. And I told him what I wanted to do, have people put around me that could direct me effectively so I could go on and be successful at it and stuff. There were plenty of guys there, and it just grew. So we both let one another F it. And they were congratulating me, saying, man, that was awesome. This is really great. And late that night, Linda came into the picture. And I said, this is a natural, I've just never been into any of that stuff. Women and, all that stuff and everything. That doesn't work for me. I almost fell to my knees and just started throwing up right there. I got another good one for you. That Kwanzaa is just as legitimate as Santa Claus and Christmas. Now, 15 years from now, don't let the tin cup I kick hit you in the mouth and knock your teeth. What are you smoking?
Wow, that's weird. That doesn't seem to cover the PC policies of modern-day WWE. That sounds kind of morally irreprehensible. Weird. Well, okay. Maybe since the award goes to cancer victims, maybe it's because Warrior did some kind of charity for cancer. Let me just Google search that real quick and take a look. Oh shit! It's a statement from Warrior made about a cancer-ridden Bobby Heenan. Oh, I don't know. I don't have any of my voice actors on me, and I don't know if I was ready. But you know what? I'll give it a go.
As for you, Bobby Heenan, it is just too difficult to keep a straight face, talking about the pure, two-faced bag of shit you are, and always have been. What, with you actually wearing one of...
I can't do it. You were dying, diseased on the inside, and no more time is left to get back any of the integrity that matters the most on death's bed. Imagine what it'll be like, lying there taking in your last breaths, knowing you hoard yourself out your whole life, and had to, in your final years, be faced with emptying your own personal shitbag, affirming to you the true value of what you achieved in your life. Not even Vince could come up with a better finish than this. Karma is just a beautiful thing to behold. See, I went back into the Warrior voice when it stopped making sense. Well, that doesn't sound PG. And this is the guy that WWE's chosen as its golden boy, as its hero to honor, its wrestler to remember, its legacy to learn from. The Ultimate Warrior. And after making statements mocking somebody of a terminal illness, WWE chose to honor him by handing out awards to people who have that exact illness. 10 out of 10 logic, guys. Never change. Whoever's your PR team, you better give. They deserve a raise. More. They need more. I'm talking directly into my microphone. I don't care. And what's funny to me is that this is the same company. This is the same company that went out of their way to change Apollo Crews' ring name because he had a similar last name to an inconsequential shooter. And I mean it too. The public does not even remember that kid's name. I mean it too. The public doesn't even remember that kid's name. Also, Cruz and Cruz aren't the same name. Also, no one was going to make that connection. Literally no one. You're actually bringing more attention to things by dropping his surname. But you know what, I understand. You didn't want the bad PR, and that's completely understandable. That makes sense to me. So tell me, what slot is the Rapist Pimp Battle Royal going to go on? I'm very curious. This is the same company that stopped promoting Hulk Hogan, the godfather of wrestling, the granddaddy of the squared circle, because he said a few racial slurs when he was intoxicated years ago on a video that was being made without his consent or knowledge. Hulk Hogan, a much bigger name with a much more profound impact on the industry, has for the time being been eclipsed due to saying racial comments when he was being taped without his knowledge. In contrast, Ultimate Warrior said much worse things about many more people, publicly, intentionally, and repeatedly. And don't get me wrong, they had to do something. It's a touchy subject, especially in today's racial climate. But their solution to no longer being able to promote one of their biggest stars due to racial remarks was to instead glorify a man who's made far worse comments and made a far less of an impact. I'm sorry, but let's admit it. Let's see past this re-envisionist history. Ultimate Warrior's run with the company wasn't as mystical or magical as WWE likes to try and pretend. Sure, he had a big audience, and at the time, he was even thought of as the next Hulk Hogan. Not just by fans, but by the boys in the back. You know, the ones with the suits. Which might be why they booked Hulk Hogan to pass the torch to Warrior. However, as great as Warrior was as a character, as memorable as he may be, and as iconic as the Ultimate Warrior look is, there's very little doubt in the minds of most that he was kind of a bust. I'm sorry, that's not to take anything away from the man's character work. I mean, the less we say about his in-ring style, the better, right? I mean, besides, WWE's already covered what an awful wrestler the Ultimate Warrior was. Oh, what, you don't remember that? Did the boys in Connecticut Jedi mind trick you? Did you look into any flashing lights? WWE made their initial stance on the Ultimate Warrior's career back in 2005, when they made the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior. And damn, that is cold. Because even their competitors who tried to put them out of business, ECW and WCW, got the courtesy of having Rise attached to their name before adding and fall of. This was just all bad. All horrific, all horrendous things said about him by his former peers, co-workers, and employers. Bashing both the man and the character, calling his work rate shit, telling how he only hurt those he was put in the ring with, and how nobody, despite making good money, wanted to work with him. Now, while this whole documentary was released in an effort to bury the Warrior, that flame they were stifling out was already nearly extinguished, and more so over, their roast of the Ultimate Warrior, while mean-spirited, was next to spot on. I mean, really, if you want the most honest portrayal of who the Ultimate Warrior was, you're better off watching both the definitive Ultimate Warrior collection and the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior. Despite the fact that both films are biased, agenda-driven products of their time, they're both equally accurate in depicting the Ultimate Warrior. The Warrior was a hero to many, an iconic force that will forever be noted down in the history books. But he was also a malicious, hate-filled man who talked shit on the people who helped make him the icon he believed himself to be. Does the Ultimate Warrior deserve the legacy he's attributed? Well, yes and no. We can't hold a character accountable for the actions of its worker, whether it be actor or wrestler, or anything in between. However, we also shouldn't be glorifying that character in an effort to silence the actions of the people who were behind it. Moolah, the Warrior, Chris Benoit, they're all in our memories. Most of them good. They were products of their time and have etched their names into wrestling history. But when a light is shined on them, we shouldn't shy away from talking about the men and women behind the act. The Ultimate Warrior belongs in the Hall of Fame, but he also belongs in the Hall of Infamy. And having a battle royal in the name of Moolah to honor women who she'd probably pimp and prostitute out against their will had she the chance is unacceptably dumb. An award to benefit those going through cancer under the name of Warrior, as he's mocked a man's terminal cancer, is unacceptably dumb. All of this is really the equivalent of presenting Hitler an Anne Frank Award.
Let's be honest. The greatest thing the Ultimate Warrior ever contributed to wrestling was his retirement. Well, this video is certainly not going to win anybody over. With that being said, I'm Social Injustice Warrior v Infuso, and if you like the words that came out of my mouth hole, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have a free moment of time and a free dollar to spare, then head over to my Patreon, where for just $1, you too could help keep this boat afloat.
Liberals believe in a utopian society where everything is equal. Nobody is or has any less than anybody else, and we all have equal quantities of everything top to bottom. Life doesn't work that way. It's a good-for-nothing joke that it can, and worse, an oppressive, evil fraud to then pursue it as a goal. Like a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. A societal liberal leveling will make our society only as good as its least critical, its laziest, its most timid, least educated, least motivated, most beggarly, and most insipidly inspired among us. Or no, people, cultures, and civilizations are not equal. America is a superior culture and civilization to all others since the beginning of time.
Thank you for thanks guys for watching the Social Injustice Warrior. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Yeah, what he said. Good job, Morty.
The Social Injustice Warrior videos take a fair amount of time, effort, patience, and talent. And V has none of these things. So help this poor bald fuck out and join the crusade against stupidity by joining our Patreon.
That doesn't work for me. I almost fell on my knees and just started throwing up right there. And then something told me to come. And he said, don't come. You don't need to come. And I said, what do you mean don't come? It's what I wanted to do. And I didn't push it in their face. And he said, okay. It was unbelievable. It was a shoot. And I had incredible discipline. And it was magic. Next morning, about 11:45, Vince eventually stepped in. He couldn't even walk right. He stepped in and said, I'm not doing this anymore. We're not doing this stuff. And I was really surprised that he did that. Like he just wanted to keep going from one thing to the next. As long as somebody would stick it out. I mean, he had an addiction problem. And, I would have expected more.
If you've made it this far, I'm forced to guess that you've already subscribed. And you already know the swing of things. You know the deal. This is my one-on-one time with you. And this is the time where I get to address you, the audience. And boy, oh boy, do I have something special for you after the credits watchers. And it's playing right now. This is how Jim Hellwig, Warrior, enters when trying to address a room full of people to talk about his personal and political beliefs. I want you to know that I was almost dedicated to playing this in full for all of you. I'm a people pleaser. That's what I do. I'm all for giving you what you want. But I don't want to ham up the video. We've already been running a bit late here. But I just want you to know that this goes on for 5 minutes. That's right, a 5-minute long highlight reel depicting highlights of his wrestling career. And I want you to know that it's tremendously put together too. Like, this isn't your typical YouTube MV tribute, alright? It's not amateur hour. There's music. There's dialogue. Honestly, The production quality is a 10. Because I know when I'm trying to take someone seriously in any kind of political climate, the first thing I look at is their credentials in a fixed sport. And you know what? I know I'm not alone, because isn't that how Jesse the Body got the vote? That's right, people. Wake up.